ever since I started working, every single day of my life has been worse than the day before it. So that means that every single day that you see me, that's on the worst day of my life.
What about today? Is today the worst day of your life?
Yeah.
Wow, that's messed up.
Birdman's videos remind me of this scene, because every new video from him feels like his worst video. And just when you think it can't get any worse, he tops himself. I mean, it's like a murderer's row of terrible, hypocritical, and bad faith arguments that would only convince other terrible, hypocritical, and bad faith people. But to be fair, that's Birdman's target demo. You don't believe me? Let me show you.
Are we really doing this again? How many videos are these numbskulls going to make on this movie? Are they this starved for things to grift on?
Let me play something for you. I can hold that note all day, buddy.
This is funny for several reasons. One, Birdman has made 248 videos on CinemaSins, which started 8 years ago, which means he's averaging 31 CinemaSins videos a year. That's right, the guy who gives me shit for making videos on him.
There's this loser that's been making video after video after video about yours truly called Sandman Cinema.
So I started making videos on Birdman a little over a year ago, and have made roughly 20 videos on him, and that apparently makes me a loser. But Birdman averaging more in a year than I've done in total, and covering CinemaSins for almost a decade, and that's not even getting into how much time each video is, that range from 10 minutes to over half an hour, and the fact that he doesn't see this massive hypocrisy, and that's not even talking about all the videos he's made on Drinker, Nerdrotic, and Eric July. Not to mention to get on Critical Drinker's case for talking about a movie that's about to come out. Which is funny because on one hand Birdman will say, why are you talking so much about Supergirl? Then will say Supergirl is a big deal. Look how many views the trailer has gotten. Now that's a stupid argument which I'll get to. But even by your own logic that means Supergirl is fair game to talk about for multiple videos. Considering new trailers and news comes out. Any way you slice it, Birdman looks stupid.
Millie Alcock was recently interviewed by Vanity Fair where she was asked the question, has the famously fickle Game of Thrones fandom prepared you for the inevitable backlash you'll face? To which she replied, it definitely made me aware that simply existing as a woman in that space is something that people comment on. We have become very comfortable having this weird ownership of women's bodies. I can't really stop them. I can only be myself. In other words, Millie is stating that no matter what she does, a portion of the audience will feel entitled to scrutinize, critique, or even police her simply for existing in that space, not because of her performance, but because she's a woman in a highly visible role. She's acknowledging that the backlash isn't entirely about the work itself, but about a culture that has grown comfortable treating women in entertainment as objects of commentary rather than professionals doing a job.
Oh, something I meant to mention, I don't know if you saw it. There was like a Leon statue that got made with whatever company, and it's him, like, I think he's like licking his arm, he's like shirtless or whatever. And
right.
It's clearly like a lot of women would be buying this thing, presumably, which I didn't even realize was a thing. But I saw a thing on it being like, can we never complain about men like finding women hot in games ever again, please? This is ridiculous. Like, and again, you know, our stance is like, yeah, everyone should be able to do whatever the fuck they want in that way. But like, oh, it's so annoying to be like, it's disgusting. Women are not objects. Then simultaneously, that thing is like selling out for women. It's just like, come on.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure there was Kotaku articles about Leon's hotness and like how the design team specifically got women to give their input in order to make him seem more attractive. And Kotaku are like, yeah, they did that and we're all for it. Like, of course you fucking are, you bunch of hypocrites.
So the high IQ Birdman who says he's apolitical and unbiased, yet falls for the leftist feminist Hollywood bullshit narrative that women are being criticized simply for being women and nothing else, which is bullshit. Not to mention it's funny that the people that are always complaining about female bodies can't even define what a woman is.
Predictably, the absolute dregs of the internet proceeded to do exactly what they pretend they don't do. Attack her because of her appearance, state that other women who previously played the role are more attractive than her, and completely lie about her words, stating that she attacked the fans.
You would only have a point if it was specific to women, but it's not. It's only a problem when it happens to women or other minorities, because that's all the left has, identity politics. Without that, they have nothing.
I went to a comic book store in Ventura, and there's a guy, he's smoking a cigarette. There was no one in the store. He was sitting outside, and he's like, can I help you? And he didn't even look up. And I said, yeah, man, I'm just looking for some Punisher comics, you know? And he's like, yeah, we don't have much since the announcement. I'm like, And then he looked up and he said, whoa, it's you. And he was so cool and he was so helpful. And he said, you need to read this, this, and this. And he gave it to me for free. And it was just so cool. But then I went to New York.
Yeah.
I go into a comic book store in Brooklyn, and I go in, and I get a whole stack, and I go up to buy them, and he looks at me and goes, yeah, I know who you are. I go, okay, cool, man. I just want to buy these comics. He goes, no, you don't. You're not taking this, you're not taking this, you're not taking this. You need to read this, 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 and this. And I was like, okay, dude. And he's like, do not mess this up. I'm like, got it. Got it.
And again, when men are scrutinized, it's not a big deal. It's just part of the job. I bet if this happened to a woman, she would act like she's being SA'd. But because it's a guy, it's played for laughs. But for a woman, every day is running through a minefield. And that's just one of 100 examples. Hell, actors from the Batman films alone, from Heath Ledger to Michael Keaton to Ben Affleck to Robert Pattinson, all got a ton of shit when they were cast. And those are all white men. It's almost like identity doesn't matter. You're gonna get shit either way.
Attack her because of her appearance, state that other women who previously played the role are more attractive than her, and completely lie about her words, stating that she attacked the fans.
Oh yeah, it's really weird to want a character to look the part. I mean, that's kind of the whole fucking point. That's the gig. You gotta look like the fucking character. It's a visual medium. Also, his example of making fun of her appearance is photos of the Mad Max Feral Kid and Will Poulter. Sorry, but she looks like both of them in those photos. And at the end of the day, most people don't think she was a terrible choice. Even Critical Drinker. They're just ripping her and the filmmakers for not putting her in the best light. But again, because she's a woman, we have to act like it's a hate crime to get your balls broken. Because that's what the internet does. They break people's balls. Like you do to Drinker in this video and to others. But like so many leftists, it's only okay when you do it. But what should I expect from a guy who has his comments restricted to subs and members to most of his videos? But not this one for some reason. I thought it was all or nothing. Of course I wouldn't know this because I'm not a fucking pussy.
So, Launchpad McQuack here decided to whine about Supergirl again, along with the host of other grifters who are basically feigning outrage at Millie stating a fact. Because facts hurt grifter feelings.
This sounds very gay.
No, what's funny is because you're playing off the original Ben Shapiro quote, facts don't care about your feelings, as some kind of own, and acting like Millie was stating facts, when all she did was talk about her feelings. It's almost like you're a biased progressive bitch, who thinks something is a fact, if it validates his worldview.
You know, I hate to jinx it, but I do believe that 2026 has gotten off to a pretty good start so far. Yeah, there's been a few missteps along the way for sure, but shows like Night of the Seven Kingdoms and One Piece proved that there's still good TV being made, while Project Hail Mary delivered an excellent science fiction adventure that wasn't tied to some long-running franchise and didn't treat its audience like complete morons. What's a novel idea?
I find the examples Will used here very curious. The media property he derides here is the feminist one, and the ones he praises are either led by straight white males or something that sexually appeals to him.
Jesus Christ. It's almost like Birdman is doing exactly what he thinks Drinker is doing. Oh, it's only because the leads are white, or it appeals to him sexually. No, it has nothing to do with the writing, acting, or directing. And it's not like you can look through Drinker's reviews and find reviews that completely break Birdman's narrative. Like him recommending Blue-Eyed Samurai, Bad Boys 3 and 4, Blade, Arcane Season 1, Andor, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Dread, The Expanse, The Whale, The Menu, Godzilla -1, Kingdom, The Penguin, Firefly, just to name a few, that all have elements like minority leads, or strong female characters. But let me guess, he didn't like any of those shows or movies because of that. It would be because of a narrative he's trying to push. Sure, they will never explain or give receipts. They'll just expect you to take Birdman or their word.
And despite Project Hail Mary being a phenomenal film that I highly recommend, Drinker is only praising it because he got an interview with the writer who espoused some questionable talking points recently, and he was at a screening. I'm sure you all believe this is a coincidence, huh? You know, like him praising Project Hail Mary for accomplishing pretty much exactly the same thing Superman did. Only to this day he tries to shit on Superman for accomplishing this exact thing.
Dear Lord, Mr. Facts and Logic is saying he only reviewed the film positively. He got an early screening and an interview with Andy Weir, and your evidence for this is...
Nothing!
This is what pisses me off about people like Birdman. He will tell others to cite the source, or where are your receipts, or call out people for speculating, yet will pull the exact same shit. Are you saying that every reviewer that gets the same treatment is compromised? Because I'm pretty sure you've called out others before for saying this without hard evidence, and yet you're doing the exact same thing. Also, aren't you the one who thinks Rotten Tomato is gospel? And it's not like Drinker went on a limb, giving this movie a positive review. It's universally praised across the board. Oh, and comparing it to Superman is fucking stupid. Comparing Superman, one of the most iconic characters in the whole wide world, to a recent movie that was adapted from a book is obtuse to say the least. Superman's ceiling is so much higher. Not just the fact that everyone knows who Superman is, but it's a tentpole 4-quadrant film that, if done right, has the possibility of making billions. And yet it got beat out in the box office by Project Hail Mary. Hell, even F1, a more niche film, beat it out. And God, let it go. James Gunn's Superman is not the hill to fucking die on.
Anyway, I have to point out here that there have been plenty of bad movies this year that he hasn't even reviewed on his main channel, so his examples here are not random, and again, point to his bigoted views.
Drinker hasn't reviewed every bad film. That means he's a bigot.
The man retarded. I mean, use that word, but sure. Developmentally disabled. Sure.
So he's obligated to review every bad film? First off, you would have to watch something first to make that determination. Second, do you think every critic watches every film? Do you watch every film? Did you eat paint chips as a kid?
Why?
I mean, does anyone here actually believe this guy is a fan of One Piece? You know, the guy who was asked what his favorite Japanese media properties were, and he began listing off Korean and Chinese movies.
Yeah, what is the most recent Japanese film or at least entertainment that you enjoyed so far?
What am I thinking of? See, a lot of them would be older ones, like Old Boy, for example. I really enjoyed that one. I know it's not Japanese, but yeah, probably stuff like that. You know, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, I really like that. And it's like Chinese, I think.
God, talk about bad faith bullshit. Drinker likes the live action One Piece, and apparently this offends Birdman for some reason. So he goes digging for something to make Drinker look bad. Which again, from Mr. Facts and Logic, just remember that when he doesn't provide clips. For when he makes assertions, but will hunt down shit like this, and says he can't possibly like it. Because during a live stream 4 fucking years ago, and couldn't come up with the Japanese film that he liked recently. So because someone doesn't remember something off the top of their head, that means they can't like a piece of media. First off, the implication is faulty. The implication being, Drinker criticizes Hollywood, therefore he thinks he's smarter and an expert. Therefore this clip proves he's a fraud, when that is not what Drinker is. That's what you are. You're the one who claims to be Mr. Facts and Logic, Mr. 140 IQ. Sure, it's fucking bullshit. You're a dumbass who recorded for an hour, only to realize the mic was muted. Not only is this pathetic, but the fact that you boast about how you're a professional voice actor makes it funnier, even though your resume is emptier than your skull. I mean, who's dumb enough to tweet about this and give your enemies an easy dunk? Drinker is the opposite. The fact that Birdman doesn't understand this just adds to his stupidity. Drinker's persona is a drunken Scotsman, ranting about Hollywood from the common man's perspective.
Oh, not again!
Drinker and many on the anti-woke side are like customers at a restaurant pointing out that maybe you shouldn't piss in the soup or shit in the spaghetti, then turn around and blame the customers for complaining. It's common sense. You don't need to be a genius or an expert to point this shit out. Second, everyone acts like they would pass this test with flying colors, which is funny because the comments to this clip, people suggested Godzilla -1 as an easy answer, which hadn't even come out yet. Again, the question is, what is the most recent Japanese film you would recommend? And to be honest, Japanese films compared to other countries recently are not nearly in the zeitgeist and have big crossover appeal. I mean, compared to South Korea, it's not even close. You have Train to Busan, Man from Nowhere, Burning, The Handmaiden, Parasite, The Wailing, I Saw the Devil, The Host, and Mother, and that's just off the top of my head. Compared to Japan, the list is One Cut of the Dead, 13 Assassins, Your Name, and Jiro's Dreams of Sushi. Those are what I could come up with. And none of those films are the type that Drinker, or a novice Japanese film fan, would have seen, or at the very least would be on the top of their head. So to act like the answer was so obvious is silly. Again, Drinker has never claimed to be a film historian, or that he sees everything. Hell, it took him years for fans pestering him over and over to get him to see Mr. In-Between, a show that is practically tailor-made for him. Again, this is a stupid point.
Here's a Twitter search for the words One Piece by the Critical Drinker, and there are literally only 2 tweets, both talking about the Netflix show.
And your point is? Again, this would be a hell of a point if Drinker claimed to be a One Piece expert. Unfortunately, he hasn't, so it's a stupid fucking point.
The first video is Drinker using the show to attack Cowboy Bebop, and if you don't know why that is relevant, our old pal Ryan Kinnell can always be counted on to say the quiet part out loud. You see, a woman who was a part of the cast on that show was being criticized for attacking the fans. Doesn't that sound familiar?
Notice he doesn't actually pull up the video. Wow, very fucking curious from Johnny on the spot. Again, he will pull up a clip from a live stream from 4 years ago, but not actually what the actress said. I wonder why.
Which brings me neatly along to step 3, antagonize the fan base. See, there's a pretty appropriate axiom that I like to apply to situations like this. If in doubt, shut the fuck up. Clearly, the Faye Valentine controversy was a bit of a sore spot for fans, but ultimately it was just a minor aspect of the show, and it probably would have blown over if everyone had just kept their heads down and got on with their work. Clearly, Daniela Pineda had other ideas and decided to release a video where she gave her thoughts on the situation.
First, I wanted to apologize to the fans that I did not anatomically match the Faye Valentine character. 6 foot, double D size breast, 2-inch waist. You know, they looked everywhere for that woman and they couldn't find her. It's kind of weird. So they just went with my short ass. I know. Am I right?
Oh, for fuck's sake. You just couldn't let it go, could you? I mean, this really is one of those situations where you ought to have taken a step back, considered what you were about to do, and asked yourself honestly, is this really going to help? Or will it just piss people off, pour gas on the fire, and make me look like a total asshole? The funny thing is, I'm not entirely unsympathetic to Daniela's situation. First up, no amount of training is going to make you 6 inches taller and double the size of your chest. I mean, to be honest, they probably should have just cast someone else instead, but whatever. And as cool as Faye looks in the anime, well, I think it's fair to say her costume isn't exactly practical. These are valid points, but there's ways to get them across without making yourself look like a total dick. Maybe something like, I really love Faye's look in the anime, she's an awesome kick-ass femme fatale, but unfortunately there's only so much us human actors can do. We needed something a little more practical for the fight scenes we'd be doing, so hopefully we found the right balance here. But either way, I'm really excited to be playing her, so I hope you give me a chance. I mean, it's not perfect, and it obviously requires the consumption of liberal quantities of humble pie, but at least it strikes the conciliatory tone that you need. It acknowledges the complaints, shows you understand where they're coming from and that you're on their side, but that you still need to make some concessions to what's physically possible. And at the end of the day, you're just an actor trying to do a good job. It's pretty tough to stay angry at someone like that. Instead, she comes across as prickly, arrogant and condescending. You can practically feel the anger radiating from her and how pissed off she is that anyone would dare to call her out. Also, I suspect her little speech sounded a lot better in her head than the clumsy sarcasm we ended up with. And honestly, this video did so much fucking damage to the show's prospects. The mind boggles at how many thousands of people who otherwise might have given the show a chance took one look at this video and decided, yeah, fuck this arsehole, I'm out.
Anyway, it should now be clear why Drinker even reviewed that property and why his video is titled the way it is.
All this does is highlight just how much of a weasel he is, or a griffly bear, because you want to sell the narrative that Daniela is being attacked for simply being a woman, but you didn't include the video, which would make you look stupid. So you threw in Ryan Kinnell to do that, then just assert this is the reason Drinker reviewed One Piece. It's the exact same things you accuse others of doing, making assertions without hard evidence. That is an assumption, except it's worse because Drinker actually made a video on Cowboy Bebop 4 years ago, further exposing Birdman as a duplicitous piece of shit. Because why did Birdman not show this video?
The second tweet you may all be more familiar with, as it was only last month, and people were pointing out how he was hyper-focused on the woman in a bikini, as you can see from the thumbnail. He was also heavily criticized for being a tourist, which of course he is, but those people don't realize why he was praising the show, and believe me, Drinker doesn't do things arbitrarily. There is always a message.
Why? Because you say so? Despite you not knowing? Because the only way you would know this is if Drinker said he only reviewed One Piece because of those reasons. And the evidence you provided to call it flimsy would be an insult to the word flimsy. And also again, Birdman pretends like Drinker has claimed to be an anime/One Piece expert. He hasn't.
Then the other day I was reminded that, oh yeah, Supergirl's coming out soon. How best can I sum up my feelings about this movie? Well, you know when you go back to your hometown for the first time in years and you decide to meet up with some old high school buddies to reconnect over a few drinks, and it all starts out pleasantly enough, but before you know it, they're spouting the same shite they were talking about like a decade earlier, telling the same stories, griping about the same problems, even cracking the same tired old jokes. And even though the beers are flowing and you're trying to have a good time, you slowly come to the realization that, oh my god, these guys have literally never moved on in life.
Strangely, Will doesn't realize he's the person he's describing here. I mean, how many times have you seen these same meme clips, the same tired lines like, "the message," or "believe that," or the same videos on the same topics a million times? I mean, this very video is at least the third Supergirl-related video where he's asking the same questions and complaining about James Gunn. How is it possible to be this blind to the irony of his own words?
I think it might be a ghost. Oh, no, it's not. It's just a bird. Bye. There's the door. Later days. Can you hear this? Let me turn it up.
Oh, my God.
Again, this is kind of like the same point as before. Birdman has made 248 videos on CinemaSins, many videos on Drinker, Neurotic, and Eric July. Speaking of, despite saying he's focusing on Drinker, and saying Eric July's channel is dying, yet still makes videos on him, which again, can't make multiple videos on Supergirl, who will later say is hot right now, but Eric, who he thinks is irrelevant, he can. Not to mention in this very video he repeats things from other videos, such as,
are we so desperate to shit on something that hasn't released that we're bringing up the film's composer?
Pretty hypocritical. Also, name me someone who doesn't do this. Also, Birdman doesn't point out these Supergirl videos. 2 of them are from a live stream, which I'm sure when confronted will say, I didn't say it wasn't from a live stream. What a fucking weasel.
Well, such is my attitude to James Gunn's Supergirl, which ironically enough isn't actually directed by James Gunn, but might as well be if the trailers are anything to go by. I'm not exactly dreading it. I don't think it's going to be 2 hours of my life that I'll desperately want back by the time the credits roll, but just like that disappointing night out with your old high school friends who turned into not particularly interesting adults, I just can't summon up any real enthusiasm for it.
But you can summon up enthusiasm for lying about it and trying to shit on it, can't you, Will? And by enthusiasm, I mean you saw dollar signs the moment you heard about the interview, because you cannot miss an opportunity to dunk on a female-led property and rake in money from your terrible audience.
Again, I could say the same thing about you. You saw Drinker's video and couldn't resist, attacking a straight white male, and we know how much you hate white people.
It's not. I'm not. It's irrelevant. The point is who started it. Objectively, the answer is white people. Who started World War I? We can discuss Asians or we can discuss the topic at hand. We're not going to do both. The claim was that white people are the most destructive race. Is this not a true claim? I'm asking because I don't know, but I do know there's evidence supporting this claim. Oh my god.
I wonder why you're trying to pretend your issue isn't with Millie when you're liking comments denigrating her appearance, Will.
Based off that tweet, either he was or he wasn't. Now you will assert that he was. And again, where's your hard evidence? Other than conjecture. But because it's a fucking on-the-spot comparison. Who knows? But the fact that you were so quick to call it an insult means you're insulting both Millie and the child.
Reactions to this movie so far have been muted at best. Nobody seems especially fired up for this one, and who can blame them really? James Gunn's DCU hasn't exactly bombarded us with quality entertainment to get excited about, and if the behind the scenes reports of poor test screenings, multiple reshoots and a revolving door of composers are accurate, Supergirl's turning into a bit of a clusterfuck. But I'll talk more about that shortly. Believe that.
How are we defining people being excited for Supergirl? Where are you getting this talking point from? What's the source for your claims? Since we're talking about the trailer, I think it's fair to point to the views it's garnered on YouTube. And would you look at that? At the time of the writing of this video, it's currently sitting on 24 million views in 4 days, the exact amount of views the teaser trailer got in 3 months, and it's trending at number 3 on the movie charts. Looks like outside of your echo chamber, people are excited for this movie, Will.
Wow, what a great point, Birdman. You're saying a trailer getting a lot of views means people are excited for the film, and implying that will lead to box office results. Gee, let's see what other box office smashes had high trailer views. Snow White had 22 million views. The Marvels had 26 million views. Mission Impossible Final Reckoning had 28 million views. Shazam 2 had 29 million views. Furiosa had 29 million views. Madame Web had 31 million views. Kraven the Hunter had 32 million views. The Flash had 33 million views. Joker 2 had 37 million views. The Bride had 42 million views.
Then what the fuck are you talking about, man?
Also, you're spreading misinformation as usual. The reshoots were reportedly to add scenes of Superman, which we see in this trailer, and this story broke back in October 2025. There's no reason for you to be talking about these reshoots other than to misinform people that don't know these were done prior to this trailer's release, and to spread the idea that there is trouble behind the scenes.
My god, the level of defensiveness for Birdman on behalf of $1 billion studio is nauseating. Jesus Christ, you would think he's defending his own child by the way he speaks. Oh my god, Dricker brought up there were reshoots. That means he's lying about there being trouble in paradise. Don't bring up anything that can be construed as negative, you fucking piece of shit.
As for the test screenings, they literally mean nothing here. At the beginning of this video, you praised Project Hail Mary. That film had multiple test screenings.
Are you willfully being obtuse? Yes, a lot of films have reshoots. That's like saying a lot of scripts have rewrites. That's not the problem. The problem is how many, and why did they feel the need to do reshoots? Because there is a difference between minimal reshoots and a ton of reshoots. Because one hints that they're just making slight adjustments, and one that they're totally overhauling the film.
Here's the directors talking about them.
You told me once that I feel like I think you said every film of yours has had a disastrous test screening, where it's like an early in the process, you're like, oh God.
Oh, we got that out of the way early.
We never did it, our first official test screening went great, but we do a lot of early screenings for friends and family and other filmmakers and writers, and this movie was massive. Yeah. And when we finally got the assembly down to under 4 hours long, we subjected some filmmaker friends of ours to a 3-hour, 45-minute cut of the movie, which was embarrassing.
So what was the major note besides cut an hour?
Way shorter.
Yeah.
I just think that you could just, you just don't know how the scenes are going to land with a lay audience. For us, we thought everything was charming, but some of those charming things didn't land. So really, it made it it really easy to get down to 3 hours.
Right. And then we had to slowly work our way down to 2.5 hours.
How does this mean that test screenings mean nothing? Did you watch the clip? He said those screenings helped them.
As we all can see, test screenings are done for a variety of reasons, from cut downs to pacing.
First off, I can guarantee you he only brought up those 2 reasons because they sound like it's not a big deal. Because anything else would make it sound like the film is in major trouble. But even going by those examples, pacing is extremely important. Too long and slow, the audience will get restless. Too short and fast, and the audience will either be confused or feel unsatisfied due to it being brief and in a rush.
There are lists that defy your talking point, showing movies that had bad test screenings, but the movie turned out great. A film having multiple test screenings is no more indicative of that film's quality than a critical drinker review is.
Wow, 10 whole films that had bad test screenings that ended up being good. So the exceptions to the rule. Great, let's see the list of films that the opposite is true, which would dwarf your list of exceptions. God, you can't even admit it's not a great sign. That is indicative of a problem. At best, you're saying Drinker is being too critical, when you're just the other side of the coin, giving these films way too much grace, which is why people call you a shill. When you defend and give films like Snow White, Thor Love and Thunder, Borderlands, the Minecraft movie, Little Mermaid, Multiverse of Madness, positive reviews, your taste sucks and have already aged like milk, and hurts your credibility. Which is funny for you to say Drinker's reviews are no indicative of quality, when his resume of reviews are much closer to how actual people feel than you. And sorry to tell you this, but Rotten Tomatoes isn't the consensus. Most professional critics are just as clueless as you are, and time will prove just how much of a little clown boy you are.
Not to worry though, because if there's one group of people you can always count on to turn a potentially bad PR situation into a fucking nightmare, it's actors.
Yes, yes.
In this case, the star of the show, Millie Alcock, who decided to put out the Supergirl fire with gasoline in a recent Variety interview where she declared, "It definitely made me aware that simply existing as a woman in that space is something that people comment on. We've become very comfortable having this weird ownership of women's bodies. I can't really stop them, I can only be myself."
What an odd thing to say.
I mean, you're a female actress playing an established female character. It's not exactly a controversial casting choice. I don't think anyone was up in arms about a Supergirl movie getting made.
Allow me to borrow your clip, drinker.
I don't think anyone was up in arms about a Supergirl movie getting made.
What an odd thing to say.
Is this not you just a couple months ago? This is what happens when you lie as easily as you breathe. You forget the things you've said. You are criticizing you. You are the guy that got up in arms about this movie being made.
The man retarded. Shouldn't use that word, but sure. Developmentally disabled. Sure.
Seriously, you have to ask the question. I mean, this is a man who made a whole video where his closing statement is admonishing and shaming a man with a disability that he should apologize, and lied about him not apologizing when 2 days prior he did. Just like him going through all that work and realizing his mic was muted. Imagine doing all that work, making a video and forgetting to do a simple Google search. Fucking pathetic. And here, listening to what Drinker said.
I don't think anyone was up in arms about a Supergirl movie getting made.
Then acting like he said he was against a Supergirl movie being made. No, he's not against the idea of a Supergirl movie being made. He's against the perceived execution of this particular Supergirl being made. You seriously can't understand the difference? You seriously think he's against a Supergirl movie being made? I guess this is the disconnect. It's like when Drinker will say a film with minorities is bad, like Black Panther, and Beam will think this is because he hates black people, and nothing to do with the terrible writing, CGI, and ham-fisted messages. Or Drinker criticizing Supergirl for being like Guardians of the Galaxy, another James Gunn too cool for school, filled with sardonic characters that is more interested in style than substance, and ramming in pop songs every 5 minutes. And all the Birdman will hear is that he must hate women or strong female characters. So why wasn't Drinker against the first Wonder Woman film, or all the other films with strong female leads he's recommended?
You are the guy that continuously gets mad when a woman is the lead in a film. You are making this very video because this criticism is calling out people exactly like you. You people try to lie about your bigotry, but there's a paper trail as long as your fucking forehead, Beavis.
Again, the ultimate simp, the ultimate woke bitch. He will ignore all the other times Drinker has praised female stories and characters, and hyper-focusing on when he's criticized them, painting the narrative that he hates women, when he's just treating them like he would treat anyone, which proves the whole we want equality, we just want to be treated like everyone else. Feminist narrative is a lie. Nope, it's feminism, but it's Schrodinger's feminism. I'm a badass who can do anything a man can, but at the same time I'm a weak little delicate flower that needs a pussy willow like Birdman to defend my honor, even though again his comparison is spot on.
On the contrary, the bigger problem here seems to be, well, apathy. People just don't seem to give much of a shit one way or the other.
Is that why the trailer has nearly 3 times the views of your most popular video and is currently trending? Because people don't give a shit about it?
Well, you're telling me a billion-dollar company that's pumped hundreds of millions of dollars into this film has more views than a drunken Scotsman talking into a mic. Again, you could say the same about The Bride, or Joker 2, or all the other flops with high view counts. And yet Drinker is far more popular than those films. I mean, is Birdman really this delusional and unable to see the difference in scale? Not to mention, if Drinker is so irrelevant, why have you made it your life's mission to bring him down?
This might be a cold splash of water for your followers, who love telling everyone that they're jealous of you when you don't get nearly the same traction as the things you complain about. But then again, the people that follow you are really stupid and think the jealousy criticism is a one-way street.
God, I can't believe this man has an overdose on coke. Hey, look everyone, these people who Drinker complains about are millionaires. That means he can't criticize them. Again, this is a guy who will bitch and moan all day when others criticize him and call them attention seekers. And my God, you know you're desperate when you're putting up Kathleen fucking Kennedy as some kind of gotcha. The woman who had to step down because she was given the golden fucking goose and turned it into a burnt husk. Not to mention Birdman has said this.
Real art, on the other hand, has something to say, and it's often criticizing the power structure in some way.
So you're saying the purpose of art is to criticize the power structure. So you being Hollywood's biggest simp and saying multiple times in this video that because Hollywood is bigger than Drinker, you can or shouldn't criticize them is laughable. So on one hand, Hollywood needs you to defend millionaires from Drinker's harsh words, and on the other hand is so big and powerful, and Drinker is so irrelevant in comparison. It's almost like Birdman doesn't have a coherent bone in his body. He just throws shit against the wall and sees what sticks. Anyway, this video is getting too long. I think it's best to stop here.
Many months later.
On the contrary, the bigger problem here seems to be, well, apathy. People just don't seem to give much of a shit one way or the other.
Is that why the trailer has nearly 3 times the views of your most popular video and is currently trending? Because people don't give a shit about it?